Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
A good cuddle goes a long way
It really
to
does.
calming emotions.
And now here's the stars of our show, my mum and dad.
Hi, we're Justin and Kylie Coulson. We're parents of 6 daughters, and I'm the author of a bunch of books about how you can make your family happier. And today we're talking about, you know, those times when the kids are just OTT? If you're in Sydney at the moment and dealing with ongoing lockdown, it might be you. Maybe they're not actually OTT.
What's OTT?
Over the top.
Over the top.
Did you not know that?
No, I don't know any of those abbreviated things.
OTT is over the top. And sometimes...
That's why I don't understand anything the kids are saying these days.
It happens when we get older, doesn't it? We just... And we kind of stop caring about it as well. The other day, Kira Pendergast, who has this wonderful Facebook page called Safe on Social, she updated her page with a list of all of the different abbreviations and things that kids are using on social media these days so the parents don't know what they're talking about. And I started to read through it because I thought, well, this is important. And after about 4 or 5 of them, I thought, I just don't care. I
only found out the other day what BTW stood for.
By the way.
Yes.
Really? Oh, honey fun.
I just don't.
Where have you been?
Abbreviations. I just say it how it is.
TTFN.
What does that mean?
Tigger. I said TT, ta-ta for now. Tigger on Winnie the... We digress. So every now and again, kids get a bit over the top. And we decided today that we would share some ideas about how to help your children to learn to regulate their emotions and get back into control when they're out of control. But I thought it was probably worth just highlighting, Kylie, that sometimes you and sometimes I quite like being out of control. Like, it's fun to be a bit OTT now and then, right?
Maybe.
You've got this, Kylie's looking at me. Her head is down. She's looking at me through the top of her eyes with this cheeky look. You look like one of our kids at the moment who's about to get into trouble. Like, it's just fun to sometimes be over the top. And as parents, we kind of start to be the fun police now and then when the children have got high levels of energy.
Yeah, I think we do that sometimes.
But again, sometimes the kids are OTT, not because they've got high positive energy, but because they've got high negative energy. They're really angry. They're really upset. They're just non-compliant.
Well, I think if you kind of put that into context, as adults, there are times where we have all of those emotions as well. And not that it feels fun, but there's a payoff.
Yeah.
To being able to feel that emotion and express it in all its glory.
Yeah, I've spoken to more than one person who have said that they actually feel really good when they're angry.
I get a lot of cleaning done when I'm angry.
well, I guess there's the productivity benefits of anger as well, but I'm talking about being angry. And some people really, they find it rewarding. They get what they want and it feels good to tell people how they feel. But it's not necessarily not good for relationships.
No.
Not good for harmony in the home. So we wanted to share with you some ideas to help the children to regulate their emotions, to resettle and rebalance. And we think that these ideas are going to be pretty good for kids from about the age of 3 or 4 up. If you've got 1, 2, 3-year-olds, sometimes just a good cuddle and a bit of redirection is all you can go with. But for the most part, these ideas will be useful for every parent in every situation. So you've got 3, I've got 4. So I'm going to go first. And then we'll trade off from there. Okay, so my first one is I like to talk to the kids. You know when you get a snow globe and you shake it up and all of the snow whizzes around everywhere and you can't see things clearly? Mm-hmm. I like to talk to the kids, and I've done this with a couple of our kids a few times. I get the snow globe and I shake it up and I say, this is what your brain is right now. Your brain is like crazy with all this snow buzzing around inside it, and we need to let it settle down so that we can see things clearly.
That's good.
Do you like that?
That's good.
Yeah, because our brains do that, and that metaphor, I think, is a really neat way to overlay the emotional stuff that's happening for our children and the physical way that the snow globe works. And what we do when we get to have that conversation is help in fact, I should have done that this morning with our 7-year-old who was not having a good morning at all. And I didn't. And
that might have been helpful.
I think
Dr.
that it would
Coulson.
have, yes. So what we do though is we teach the children these calming skills. They get to identify what's going on inside their head, and then we get to talk to them about what they can do to help all of the snow to settle inside their brain like it's got to settle inside the snow globe.
So it's not something that you do with the little kids, but as your kids get a little bit older, one of the things that I've implemented to help settle all those emotions is write in my journal. Because writing in my journal, like I just put everything out there. And then as I do that, clarity starts to come into the picture. I get to see what I'm feeling and why I'm feeling it. And sometimes there's mixed emotions, but once it's all on the paper and I've kind of got distance from it, it's not all in my head, I can make more sense of what's going on.
So there's a handful of psychological studies that show that writing and reflecting is an incredibly powerful way to make sense of emotions, to regulate emotions, and to move forward productively from them. So that's a really nice add-on. And in fact, I'm going to add on to that one as well and say that when the kids are younger, I remember we haven't done this with our little ones, but we used to with our older ones when they were little, get the kids to draw their emotions. You knew I was going to go there.
Yep. Because I remember when our eldest decided to draw a picture on the school carpet because she was really angry.
That's right.
That didn't go down so well with the school.
Then we needed to tell the teacher to draw her emotions as well. Okay, so what's your second one?
With young kids in particular, but it works with all ages because you still do this with me. A good cuddle goes a long way
it really
to
does.
calming emotions.
And that means that we've got to make sure that we don't catch the chaos, cranky or crazy of our children. We've got to come to them with calm and give them that reassurance, give them a big hug and sort of envelop them in that warmth.
It can be really tricky to do that when emotions are big and we just see that the big emotion is an inconvenience to what's going on.
Yeah.
But it makes such a difference if we can just remain calm and give the extra love that this person who is experiencing big emotions needs.
I love that. So we've got a couple more. We're going to share them with you after the break.
It's the Happy Families Podcast.
Are Screens Creating Tension at Home? Tweens, Teens and Screens is a webinar to guide families to healthy, safe super screen solutions. Buy it today at happyfamilies.com.au/shop.
It's the Happy Families Podcast, the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now. And today we're talking a little bit about how we might reset emotions when things go over the top.
And we've already come up with a couple of bonuses that we didn't mean to, so I've lost track of whose turn it is to go with one.
Well, at the beginning of the podcast, we were talking about abbreviations.
Yep.
And how I didn't really know many of them.
Yeah, BTW.
Yeah. Well, I remembered a story that I heard by somebody who said that their grandma sent a text message after their grandfather passed away that said LOL.
Yeah, granddad just died, LOL.
Yeah. And she didn't realise that LOL meant laugh out loud. She thought it meant lots of love.
That's so sad, isn't it?
But anyway, I digress. We were talking about how we might reset emotions in the house. And laughing out loud would be a good one.
Yeah, I think so. Hey, I reckon one of my favourites, I know that you were going to say this one, but I can't help it because it's one of my favourites, is doing that whole 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing.
Except don't do it to me.
Getting into the moment.
You get in big trouble when you do it for me.
Have we ever done that together and you've been happy about it?
No.
No?
Because I know exactly what you're doing.
But it works so well with the kids and it works really. I do it to myself. When I'm starting to get really revved up and I need to resettle and regulate, I'd say, what are 5 things I can see? What are 4 things I can feel?
Tell me what you're supposed to taste. Honestly, what are you supposed to taste? What I ate for lunch?
So for those who haven't heard this, 5 things that I can feel, 5 things I can see, 4 things that I can feel, 3 things that I can hear, 2 things that I can smell, and 1 thing that I can taste.
My saliva.
So that's really gross.
That's disgusting.
Okay, so
am I supposed to go get a chocolate?
Maybe that'll make you feel better.
Yes. Yeah. That's the answer to the universe.
It's a recurring theme in our podcast is your desire and craving for chocolate. So if we want to help our kids to regulate their emotions, that's one of my favourite ones. And every now and again, the kids will actually come to me and say, Dad, can we do our 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? Because I'm feeling cranky. And I love it when they do that. I'm like, job done. What's your next one?
It combines all of them together because there's a bit of a distraction.
Yeah.
It's time to reset together and you have cuddle time as you do it. So you've got that connection, that physical touch. It's just brilliant.
Yep.
Well,
So-
you've taken all of mine. I've got none left.
Well, you just mentioned distraction, and we haven't really talked about that. I just kind of briefly mentioned at the start for little kids. But I don't think that we should overlook just how valuable distraction is. If the kids are not regulating well, especially if they're young, but even if they're a bit bigger, it's amazing what you can do with distraction. I mean, hello, chocolate.
Chocolate.
It's a distraction. Comfort eating.
The best distraction.
We don't want. We need a new sponsor for the podcast. Hello, Lindt. Just letting you know, chocolatier. One of those. What's that? Is it the Three Brothers Chocolate Company or something like that? I'm sure that there's a chocolate company out there that'll sponsor you, Kylie. I'm sure that there's someone who will.
So I know we're having a little bit of a quip about chocolate, and yes, it is a really good distraction for me, as opposed to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But let's get serious for a second. You know, it's easy to distract little kids. They're very, very easy.
Well, sometimes.
To distract.
Yeah.
But as they get older and even into adulthood, what would be a good distraction if somebody's having a meltdown?
Yeah, because sometimes our children and even we as adults really like to, we get quite prideful about our anger. We really want to hold it and own it and say, no, you can't take this away from me right now. I'm feeling this and I need to feel it.
And let's be real. Sometimes we actually do need to work through that process.
Yeah. Every now and again, it would be completely inappropriate to try to distract somebody from their anger. Mind you, if their emotions are really, really high, I think that there are always useful things that we can do to bring that down. So I don't know that distraction is always going to be the best thing to do, but I know that there have been times where we've had cranky kids and I've said, hey, let's go jump on the trampoline, or let's go for a swim, or let's go for a walk, let's take the dog, let's go to the park, let's go kick a ball, throw a frisbee, usually doing something physical, something active.
Yeah, I remember a time when I was going through a difficult experience and a friend just showed up on my doorstep and she said, you don't get to say no today. We are going to the beach. I had been locked up in the house for weeks, hadn't left, hadn't talked to anyone, and she literally just came and took me, and it didn't matter what I said. I couldn't get out of it, but once I got there, it was just such a grateful distraction to everything that was going on in my head.
Yeah, just about anything to cut that circuit. It might be come into the kitchen and help me to stir the beans for dinner. It could be something that simple, or maybe let me read you a story. It's time for a story we haven't been reading lately, and this one's our favourite. Let's pull this one out and just reconnect. The other things that I think that you can do if you need to help the kids to resettle and regulate, get outside. Like
green time.
Yeah, outside is so valuable.
Just grounds you.
And be active. I mean, I've kind of touched on that with the distraction stuff, but you don't have to do it as a distraction. Sometimes you can do it as an intentional activity. Sometimes the kids are climbing the walls because they're climbing the walls. They've had enough of, if you're in Sydney, they've had enough of lockdown and they just need outside physical activity, energy release. Our bodies are made to move, and if we don't move our bodies, we store up all of this energy and it comes out in horrible emotions every now and again. And the last one that I'm going to mention is connection. Sometimes if the children are really, really, really dysregulated, sometimes if their emotions are big, the most important thing that they can have from us is connection. Ironically, it's the time that we least want to give it to them, but it's the time that they probably need it the most.
Campfire, marshmallows.
Yeah.
They're calling.
Pop down to Bunnings and grab one of those little braziers and stoke it up. Grab a stick from the back garden or from the local park and stick some marshmallows on the end and away you go.
Well, we hope that if you are struggling with some high energy levels in your home at the moment, that you might have found some answers to help you resettle.
Yeah. If you enjoy the podcast, please leave ratings and reviews at Apple Podcasts. 5-star ratings and reviews help other people to find out about the podcast and make their family happier. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Roulon from Bridge Media. Craig Bruce is our executive producer. Oh, and if you'd like more info about how you can make your family happier, we have this thing called a Happy Families membership. We give you weekly updates and ideas about how you can make your family happier. All the details are at happyfamilies.com.au.